Hey, 7th grade math students. Hope everything's going well for you guys. And unfortunately, we got to do some math problems this way, but hey, it's worth a shot at least. What you're going to see is I have the paper packets that some of the kids are picking up, but we're making a YouTube video for those of you who are online. You'll get to see exactly what's on those packets and how to solve stuff, and it'll get you ready for your IXL problems for the week. So, all right, I'll take the phone. I'll go over the examples now. All right, so our first lesson, lesson A. I know some of you guys have already dealt with some of this before, but not all of you have, so I'm going to go over it for everybody. And we're going to start with the area of squares, rectangles, parallelograms, triangles, and trapezoids. All right, squares are pretty simple. If squares, we don't have all four sides the same, so a 4 by 4 square, in order to find the area of it, you just multiply the length times the width, or base times height, whatever you want to call it. But with squares, it's easy because all the sides are the same. So 4 times 4 gave us 16. Now sometimes with a square, we're actually just given the area. And then we got to find out what the side lengths are. So for example, if this had an area of 49, yeah, I know it's got 7 already there for you. You assume the other side should be 7. But just in case you want to figure it out, you take your x, your mystery side there, times 7 is supposed to equal 49. Well, just like an algebra equation, we divide each side by 7. And divide each side by 7 there, and you're left with x equals 7. So the missing sides would be 7 there. Rectangles, kind of similar also. You're just going to multiply the base and the height to get area, also known as length times width. And so if you had a 9 by 8 rectangle, just take 8 times 9 and give you 72 square inches. Now, kind of like what we did the squares up here, sometimes you're given the area in one of the sides, but you're missing one of the other sides. So for example, this one's t, it's our missing side. Well, if we know length times width gives us the area, well, I have t times 15.9 is going to give me that 174.9. So to get rid of that times 15.9, we divide each side by 15.9, and you're left with t equals 11. So your mystery side is equal to 11. Parallelograms, kind of just like rectangles. You just got to make sure that the measurements you use are the true base and height, not the leaning over measurement there. The base is always the bottom part, and the height's what forms a perpendicular scenario here, a right angle, with the base. So I have a height of 8, and the base is 4, because in parallelogram the two sides would match with each other. So in this, 4 times 8 would give you 32. I gave you a mixed number one here, because I know on some of the IXL that you guys will practice with in a little bit, that's an option that I know they have in some of the problems. They give you the mixed numbers. So for example, if you had a base here, matches up with that top, 1 3/4, and we'll times that by 1 1/2. Well, 1 3/4 times 1 1/2, you can't really work with mixed numbers like that, so we got to turn them into improper fractions. So I got 7/4 times 3/2, and you get 21 1/8, and then convert that improper fraction to a mixed number, and 8 goes in 21 2 full times with 16 and 5 left over. And then that 5 becomes your little leftover piece there. So 2 5/8 square inches. Now, triangles. I know some of you guys have worked with these as well, but we'll review these also. For triangles, you got to multiply the base and the height together, then divide by 2, because it's really like half of a rectangle or half of a square. So, for example, in the triangle here, you need, kind of like with parallelograms, you need the two pieces that form a 90-degree angle together. So I have a base of 8 and a height of 4 in this picture. So I take 8 times 4 and divide by 2, and it gives me 32 divided by 2, which gives me 16. So 16 square inches there. And if you have to work backwards, like they give you the area of the triangle and then one of the measurements, but not what the other one is, we can still work with that, like an algebra problem also. So normally it's base times height divided by 2. Well, y would be my base, and 12 would be my height, and I'm supposed to be dividing that by 2. Now that's going to give me 96.6, because they already told me the area is going to be 96.6. So, first thing I want to do is multiply by 2 to get rid of that divided by 2. So I don't want to have that divided by 2 hanging out there any longer, so I times it by 2 on each side, and that leaves me with just the y times 12 is all that's left behind. And over here, that gives me 193.2. Now, if I want to get y by itself, instead of timesing by 12, I divide by 12 on each side. It leaves me with y equals 16.1. So that's kind of the final step we'd go with there. And then last up, get the trapezoids. Trapezoids we don't work with too often, but on occasion they do give those to you. Now, as you can see here, trapezoids have their own special formula. You got to add the two bases, which are the parallel sides that don't form any weird angles with anything else. They'd be parallel. Only two sides are like that in a trapezoid. Add them together, divide that answer by 2, then you can multiply that by the height. So the formula you might have seen right on the board before is base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times the height. So in this case, the bases are the 2 and then the 4. Those two pieces are parallel with each other. So add them up, 2 plus 4, I'm going to have to divide that by 2. Then I can times that by 6. So 2 plus 4 is 6, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 3 times 6 gives me 18 square yards there for that trapezoid. Of course, now and again, you'll get the ones that are missing one of the measurements. Like this one in particular is missing the height, but they do provide you with the area here. So when you do have the area, like 94.5, I can still deal with the two bases. I take my 5.9 plus 13, I'll divide that by 2, and I still got times it by the height to give me that 94.5. Well, I can actually do this little math problem here first. 5.9 plus 13, I can add them up and get 18.9. Divide that by 2, and I get 9.45. So I'm left with 9.45 times the height gives me that 94.5. So just take each side, divide by 9.45 on each side, and it leaves me with the height is going to be equal to 10. All right. So this is what it looks like on the packet that people are getting. It's a chance for you to see some examples and everything. And what we'll have next is some sample problems if you want to practice some more. If you want to go on the IXL, what you've already seen on Schoology, what assignment you have for the week, you can go ahead and start with that. But otherwise, I'm going to give you some examples here. All right. Now the examples, you'll probably just want to like pause your screen, work on the problems if you want to. And then at the bottom of the page, I'll show you what the answers are. So on number 1, you got a 5 by 5 square. And as you can see, like an example, like if I solved it out, it would be just 5 times 5 is 25. So that's just what you do. Just work it out. If you don't have the packet, you just do this on a separate piece of paper. So that's all you have to do with that. All right, so here's example 2. If you want to work on that, you can pause it and then work on that. Then you got example 3, a rectangle with it's a 3 by 8 rectangle, trying to find the area. And number 4, I'm trying to solve for t. They give you the area in one of the measurements. You got to solve what t is. And number 5, you got a parallelogram. Find the area of this parallelogram. Looks like the height's 6, and we have 8 for the base. And then we have a parallelogram that's trying to find the area again, except it's 1 2/3 by 2 1/4. And then number 7, you got a triangle with a base of 10 and a height of 8. Trying to find that area. And number 8, you have the area provided to you, and you're just trying to find that missing height. It looks like the base is 12 here. And number 9, you have all the measurements you need to help figure out the area of that particular problem. Number 10, a little more of a challenge type of problem for you, but hopefully you can look back at the previous examples a couple minutes ago in the video. You can see that. You have a base of 18 and a base of 14. And that missing height is what you're looking for. But they do give you the area that is 64 square yards, so hopefully you can find the height from that. All right, so that's the 10 problems. And what I'll do is I'll kind of show you what the answers should be on those. So you can double check with any of those. And there you go. Answer number 1 is 25. Number 2 is 8. Number 3 is 24. Number 4 is 8. Number 5 is 48. Number 6, 3 3/4. Number 7 is 40. Number 8 is 14. Number 9 is 72. Number 10 is 4. And these came from IXL, AA2, and AA3 out of the 7th grade library. So if you needed help with this, hopefully this video was beneficial to you. Otherwise, you could start on the IXL and go with it. So good luck.